my pen didn't work.
Her pen doesn't work.
I've got to find a working pen.
Nobody knows. Well, I'm gonna start talking, so you're just gonna have to catch up.
No!
Listen to her.
We're recording.
Oh, yeah, everybody's recording me, smart aleck.
Okay,
Once
now
was
I'm
a
ready.
man from Nantucket. I'm just kidding. All right. The first thing, I certainly hope by now that y'all know the definition of lifespan psychology, what it's about, what it's for, etc.
This is my lifespan.
I know, but that still is
Okay.
the key term for what the study of human development is.
Okay.
Human development, lifespan, human development. The two are interchangeable. This just happens to be the first half of lifespan or human development. What was the first method of psychotherapy called according to Freud? Whose psychosocial stages were they? What is DNA composed of?
Everybody's not recording.
Well, right fast. Cranky pants.
Sabrina, just did it to me.
Yeah.
I'll put this on YouTube.
What DNA in chromosomes is organized into segments called blank. See, I even gave you a question. Woo! Party like rock stars. Nature versus nurture. Let's see. Getting into where babies come from, you need to know the sperm, the ova, and where they come from. Fertilization and the different stages or periods from conception until birth. Prenatal care, what are the key areas? What are those things that come from the environment that can be harmful to the fetus?
Teratogens.
Well, thank you
Sorry.
for that. There's another question for you. Make sure you know your Apgar scale, the different types of crying. Don't forget the differences between proximodistal and cephalocaudal principles or growth. What happens in the brain when things that aren't getting used wither away? Let's see. Gross motor and fine motor skills. Let's see what else. One of the questions is about that memory thing with the baby with the ribbon tied to see if they would move, see if they would kick and all that sort of stuff. Make sure you remember that story. Basics of how many words are in a child's vocabulary at 1 year, 2 years. What is social referencing? Signs when a child is ready for potty training. What is the basis of human language? Repeating actions that were observed earlier. Hollow phrases, telegraphic speech, motherese or infant-directed speech. Make sure you know the difference between sex and gender. Know the different types of attachment in attachment theory. Maturation of the frontal lobes and what that helps in babies and toddlers. Differences between boys and girls in terms of motor skills and childhood abilities. Which theorist focused on the social process? Remember, there's two big theorists we talked about with early childhood stuff with regard to cognitive stuff. One of them talks about stages and makes it look like things just, new tasks just land on a kid's head. And the other one talks about the importance of the social, remember scaffolding and all that sort of stuff. Let's see. Outcome studies regarding preschool. What's most important? What did they find? Children who cannot control their emotions, what kinds of things are they at risk for? Children who are not good at controlling their emotions, what's likely to happen to them? What's a risk of a child being unable to control their emotions? Children behave. Don't make me separate you. Centration, decentration, reversibility, classification, seriation. Animism, assimilation, accommodation. Social comparison. Quit making me laugh. I'm sick, don't feel good. Social comparison, what else? Self-concept. The different primary focus of friendship. Remember we talked about how little kids, it's proximity, the kid that lives next door, and then later on it's shared interests, shared activities, trust, all those different things come at different ages. Make sure you know those. Yeah, well, I'm not going to tell you all 50 questions. I'm telling you things you need to distinguish between so that you can pick which one's correct. Y'all are so mean. Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. I'm going to go eat worms. Popularity of children. Remember, there's the rejected, the neglected, the popular, and what's the other one? There's the controversial kid, etc. Different kinds of kids and how they fare with popularity. Sex hormones. What are those for both male and female? Eating disorders, who gets them and at what age are they most likely to be diagnosed? Substance abuse and what's considered to be social substance use. And don't forget the imaginary selves, the possible selves, remember? When is self-esteem at its lowest, and when does it peak? What is homophobia? Comparing the U.S. and Europe to Asia, different things in terms of what constitutes an adult. Remember we talked about the different cultures, and I told you about my son-in-law living with his parents and all that sort of stuff. In your book it talks about the U.S. and Europe and the different comparisons of what becomes a big deal to be an adult. Let's see. What else? Post-formal thinking. Make sure that you understand pragmatism, reflective judgment, hypothetical thinking, and deductive reasoning. What does oxytocin do to the female's blood when it reaches a certain level? Why is a fetal skull not fused? Erickson's stages. Now, when I say Erickson stages, you can pretty well guess that I only mean as far as adolescence. And since that's referring to one of the last questions, and these are in chronological order, you can pretty much guess where I'm wanting you to make sure you know what stage certain people are at. Questions, comments? Thank you. I've enjoyed having you guys very, very much. You've been a really good class, and I truly mean it. My 3 classroom classes have been good. I really think this has been my favorite, though. Don't tell the other ones.
I'm going to have it on YouTube.
Oh, YouTube. Woo! Rock star. This is Dr. Gardner. Come take my classes because I am, after all, incredibly cool. Go forth and eat pancakes.